In this lesson presented in the screencast, students will be looking at an issue that Americans have faced in the past and are still facing today. Do we take military action? Students will be given 3 historical events and 1 current event to analyze and determine what they believe America's actions should be. The first event we're looking at is Pearl Harbor, and this is a quote from a speech from President Franklin D. Roosevelt about what occurred at Pearl Harbor. We're also providing an informational graphic map for students and pictures for them to analyze so that they can determine themselves whether they believed that America should or should not take military action with this event. The next event we're looking at is the Cuban Missile Crisis, and this is a speech or quotes from a speech from President John F. Kennedy about the Soviet missile installations in Cuba. We have a graphic as well as a picture of where these installations are or have been determined to be, as well as the range in which these missiles have. Again, students are to determine at this point, do they believe we should take military action? The next event we're looking at is the Korean airliner that was attacked by the Soviet Union. This is information, a speech presented by President Ronald Reagan of the event and what information has been provided to him and his beliefs on what should be done next. We have pictures here of passengers that were on that flight, and what's key for this picture here is you'll notice that a number of these individuals are not Korean. They are American or European descent. And I think it's key for students to recognize that Americans died in this plane crash. And this is a map that shows what was the flight path, the planned and actual flight path. The last event we'll be looking at is this recent incident in Syria with the use of chemical weapons. This is from a speech from President Barack Obama. We have photos of victims as well as an informational graphic that shows where the opposition is, where the regime is, and where chemical attacks have been reported. From this point, students then will be asked, what information do we need to know about the American population to determine whether they approve of the U.S. taking military actions? This is where students will begin their research. We have already the census page of historical data for them to go to, as well as they'll be able to research public opinion polls or any information actually that they find that will help them understand what public opinion was during these events. At the end, they will create a podcast, and in this podcast, they will present what public opinion was, what their own individual opinion was, and what action was taken, and whether or not they agreed if the action was correct or not.